Hi everyone, here we are with Chris Precht. Chris and his team has been here in Bamboo U for about 1 week, learning about bamboo and building this kind of a structure. So
We're now
how
bamboo
was
masters.
that? How was that this week? How was that
It was interesting and a lot of different layers.
been?
Like first of all, I think as a team building, I think it was a fantastic thing,
Yeah.
right? As an architect, as an architecture office, you're mainly working on your own computer for a
Yeah.
long time on your own projects and so
Yeah.
forth. But to do something really together, to learn together skills that we didn't have before, was fantastic on a team building side. So I think all of us, we grew very well together, and it makes us strong actually going to the
Yeah.
future. But as well for me personally, I think it was super interesting because, we did some bamboo buildings in the past, but we did them out of passion and not because we have skills in it. And this now, we get somehow the skills, not the experience, but the skills that we would have needed before for the project. So it was a kind of a reverse thing, but we do that a lot in architecture. We become masters in something we actually don't know.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting and a personal thing, and I think especially for my kids and for for Emma and Theo, I think it was really cool to be with us. Maybe for me personally, it's too late to become an architect, but for them, I think, their thoughts, and so they were shaped by this entire experience. Looking at their mom and their father and all of the office guys to actually build something, I think it also shaped them in their thoughts. So
because there were people from the office at Austria and also from New Zealand. Some of them they didn't met before.
Right,
it was super cool to see like everyone like just understanding the material and living in a different environment. Also, like we're just sitting like below the sun and it's like a hot weather, mosquitoes, etc.
Right.
And then understanding the material, and in that sense, like how's that for you? Like we have been trained as architects to understand concrete, steel, wood as primarily materials for construction, and then getting to know bamboo, getting to harvest it, treat, process, understanding like different species, you get to know like a little bit more of the material that will give you like different sort of feedback or insight about the material. How will that impact, for example, your future projects?
Yeah, I think you're getting you get trained as an architect in those materials you mentioned because it is quite easy to train a lot of people in them, right? There's standardization, there is a certain way to do things. Like with concrete, you're building a certain way, with wood, you're building a certain way, but it's all kind of uniformed. I think this process in bamboo is very interesting because you need to be very close to the material.
Yeah.
Because the process is super fast. It grows very fast and then you harvest it, but then, the next couple of days it is actually in your building almost. This process becomes very fast. So you as an architect, you're not sitting behind the computer a lot, but you're very much part of the process, which makes it very difficult, different, and as well, I guess, difficult to work because you need to be a master of a lot of trades in a way. So from designing, but as well from understanding the material until construction. So you somehow need to understand all of the steps of the way. Whereas, if you are an architect, you can be an expert in one step, but could be quite stupid in all of the other ones, and it still works, and you still get away with it. Whereas in bamboo architecture, I think that would not be possible.
Nice. And we're sitting just in this beautiful shelter that we were able to build in just about 2 or 3 days. Having like a previous idea of building some mushrooms. We were like discussing how to weave some mushrooms. Then we explained how to work with the reciprocal towers here, that then the participants get to like test them, do model making, and then they decide to do like these towers, put a grid shell on the top, like start weaving, etc., and understanding the material. And it's very nice just to see like the process, see like the final result in just a couple of days of this structure that we can sit down. And I guess that it's also something important for the process that not all the materials allow you to work in this way. And the sort of like the material inform you some things that then you will be able to start like changing the design. And how was for you during these days to understand the material and then look at this final product?
Yeah, it was very funny because I mean we didn't plan of building something like this or the outcome or so.
Yeah.
And this is as well very different than all of the process that we do in architecture, right? In architecture, you usually go in with sketching and then you have an idea what
Correct.
should be the outcome, and everything that all of the steps of the way it goes towards this outcome. So the result is basically the result. But here more the process is the result. So you start, it's very meditative in a way because you're starting and then one step leads you to the next without knowing what will be the end product.
Yeah.
And this is maybe more like we played and worked when we were children, right? Because it was not necessarily to create it the best kind of Lego piece in the end, that this was the outcome, but more of the, okay, I try this, no, this doesn't work, I throw it away, and then I try something new. So in a way, it's this process becomes way more playful and in a not meaning this in a bad way, but a bit more like childish, or as we felt as children, right? And a more emotional bond with it, because you make so many decisions by your own on the way, right? And then if the outcome is like this or a bit different, it doesn't really matter, but it's this entire pathway. It was like a really beautiful experience.
Yeah, that's super cool. And how do you see bamboo, like, for example, in the future? I mean, you have been working in different parts of the world, different materials, different construction projects, like massive projects, master plannings, and even projects here in Bali. How do you see bamboo in the future? Will that material will take like place in the industry, or how do you see bamboo like in the future?
Yeah, I think compared to with our work, you know, we sometimes work on bigger projects, but we enjoy also very much the small, very personal kind of projects. And I think this is as well where bamboo is, right? You, as an architect or craftsman or designer, are very personally involved in the process. And the outcome is, you know, with all of the Ibuku buildings or as well here at Bamboo U, it's very personal. Like you can see the craftsman work in the building, right? I think this step then to take towards more, not maybe mass production, but to maybe is useful in the city or something in a bit of a bigger scale. I think there maybe it needs to go a little bit away from the playfulness and more towards a very serious kind of thing with technical fabrication and digital fabrication.
Got it,
where now I think we on the precipice of actually doing that, right? Like for example, this no bamboo cane is exactly the same than the other one. All of the poles are really different, right? But through scanning and then through virtual reality and augmented reality, like things are possible that probably are not possible right now. And things become, I think, very, very interesting with these new tools that are available, that you can as well scale up production, that it gets a little bit away from this passion thing and more towards being like a serious kind of
sort of like getting mature, right? You were talking about like being a little bit child and a little bit like with this vibe of childhoodness, and then getting a little bit mature on the process, understanding, using new technologies.
Right. I think like in architecture we always kind of, okay, how can we convince a client that that this is a thing, you know, to take this serious. And we had with our own projects like this problem that it was sometimes, you know, too playful. So how can we convince a client? This, right? And as well with wood, you sometimes do that through fabrication. You know, if a client, if he or she sees that how it is cut and how precise the work can be, the imagination, you know, you take them on a journey somehow. And this maybe as well in bamboo, you know, with getting away maybe a little bit with this kind of that is all tied to craftsmen, but maybe more as well to a digital fabrication. It would be a really viable material as well for the future. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting. And finally, like, what would be like that piece of advice for architects that are like in the same path as most of us, like in terms of concrete, steel, and all those materials, maybe been working like in an office that, but they have like this sort of like spark of trying to look at different materials in terms of bamboo. Like after this week you've been here in Bamboo, what would be that piece of advice for them?
With a lot of architects, it is that you enjoyed being at university because everything felt so. I test things now, right? I learn.
Yeah.
Where else then when you go into, you know, being employed or internships and so, then it could feel very often overwhelming for students in architecture, because it is very complex and you are never part of an entire kind of project. You sometimes feel then you are like a cogwheel in a big machinery. But you know, when we somehow get back to how we did it as students, you know, to just learn and experiment and enjoy more the process than the finished kind of tower or so. And getting this feeling of, oh, I was part of the creation, you know, it's partly as well mine, this personal bond to a thing. I think this is somehow where kind of young architects and young fabricators and so can find a direction, right? And this you definitely get here. With being hands-on and really trying the material and creating something along the way. I think it was really beautiful.
Yeah, it was super fun, and thank you very much, Chris, for coming and bringing your team, your entire team. We were around like more than 20 people here. It was super fun the entire week. We get to visit some beautiful structures, etc. So we really appreciate that you come all the way here to Bali to learn a little bit of bamboo, and hope you had like a very good experience, and we sort of like plant a little bit of the seed.
You planted the bamboo seed, yeah.
So thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you, Luis, for having us. It was really a pleasure, and yeah, we look forward to coming back here sometimes in the future.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.